It's very apparent in Indianapolis that a very powerful network is being built.
There's a lot of open space in Indianapolis, and it's starting to fill up and starting to be built up. So that's really exciting when you're looking for studio space and you're finding all these buildings that were empty, and now they're full of possibility.
There's a lot of young talent here. There's a lot of brilliant minds. There's a lot of resources here, and so I think that in a city like Indianapolis, you can get a lot done.
There's so many people that are creating here in Indy. I think the level of professionalism has continued to escalate over the last couple of years. There's more of a need for it because all of the people that started out with small companies 5 years ago that were doing everything, they really are getting to the size now that they really need that assistance.
Now is the time. There's a lot of people here, there's a lot of drive, and we just need to be able to showcase that to not just Indiana, I think the world. They just need to see what Indiana has to offer.
A lot of people think of Indy not having fashion, but if you're really a player in the fashion industry here, you see that we're not really at the infancy level anymore. Like the infancy level really started about 5 to 8 years ago as designers were really starting to come out and say, this is something I want to do. We've made a lot of progress, even though we have a long way to go in the last 5 years. And I think we're kind of at that toddler stage where we're ready to take that next step.
My clients that come to me, they have their ideas and they can get patterns and samples made by me, but then their next step is such a huge one, and it involves them leaving state and finding a manufacturer that they know nothing about. They have to fly to get there often. A lot of times you try to email or call a manufacturer and they won't respond to you. So it's one of those out of sight, out of mind kind of things where you kind of have to be right there in order to interact.
I'm in a really interesting position where the last chunk of how we produce our apparel or most of our products is extremely local. So from this design to the screen printing to the packaging, that's all done in about a 5-mile radius. But the beginning of the product is done extremely far away. Getting those blank t-shirts, you're either looking at getting it from the West Coast if it's American made, or from much farther away if it's not American made. And t-shirts are used a lot as an example of something that's done in places we don't know much about.
Being able to scale something like this at this particular moment in time, I see as being the perfect opportunity to reignite an industry and a framework that has, essentially been gone a generation.
It's a market that's here, that's now, that needs to be tapped in more so that we can show that fashion can be a way to bring in more revenue for the city.
Fashion is huge business, so I think it can really help Indianapolis if we have a fashion growth here, a fashion scene.
If you look at LA or Chicago or New York, I think that Indianapolis has that same potential. It just needs to be tapped and maximized.
Arts is always important. It doesn't matter what city, globally that you look at, the art scene is always a huge, important factor, and so is fashion, to kind of help establish a city with its own identity and to help interest people.
Could there be a kind of fashion mecca, a fashion capital in the Midwest? It sounds crazy, but I think with the energy that's going on, with the type of people that Indianapolis is attracting, we're kind of primed to do that if the resources can line up.
Looking at the amount of product that they're manufacturing there, if a percentage of that was manufactured here, we could develop a thriving apparel manufacturing industry as well. And so, really, what's stopping us?
The momentum in Indianapolis and Indiana is huge. I think people my age, my generation, are really starting to wake up to the idea that if you want to do something, if you feel that kind of creative drive, there's probably a good chance that you can do that, and that can be what you do full time.
Well, I see this as really an opportunity to spark the creativity that's going to lead to the next generation of innovation.
People are excited because there's so much energy now. I'm excited for what's going to happen in 20 years when the foundation is laid and we're really, a global player, and people can say, oh, I produce things in Indianapolis. It's really cost effective for me. I don't need to fly to Italy every other weekend to do leather goods. There are people that support that, here in Indy.
I am still having my eyes open to how interesting and diverse the community in Indianapolis is. How many people there are who said, this is what I think I want to do and I'm going to do it.